Why fighting terror is not World War III, today on The World. I'm Marco Werman. Last night, President Obama said terrorism does not threaten our existence. This expert agrees, and she blames the media for people thinking otherwise.
They don't put it in context, within the realm of likelihood in which you have a better chance of being struck by lightning than being killed by a terrorist.
Also, this young Syrian doesn't want to fight for anyone. Not Assad, not the rebels, and not ISIS.
They are all them criminals. They hit the people.
Plus, Netflix expands in Africa, one monthly subscription at a time.
$7.99 is a lot of money to somebody living on $4 a day, but actually, that's not the whole story of Africa.
Those stories, today on The World. Glad you could be with us today. Let's begin with President Obama's final State of the Union address. There were a few moments last night when the whole Congress, Democrats and Republicans, applauded in agreement with the president, but America's fierce partisan divisions were definitely on display as well. Take the threat posed by ISIS. Here's the president.
They pose an enormous danger to civilians. They have to be stopped. But they do not threaten our national existence.
Now, here's the Republican position as laid out by South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley in the official GOP response.
We are facing the most dangerous terrorist threat our nation has seen since September 11th. And this president appears unwilling or unable to deal with it.
Most dangerous threat since 9/11, or really not that bad? Mia Bloom at Georgia State University has studied terrorism for years. So, Mia, who's right? Is it World War III?
It's definitely not World War III. I think we have to understand what constitutes an existential threat. We look at existential threats, for example, when up until 1991, the Soviet Union possessed the capacity to destroy the United States several times over with nuclear weapons, long range, short range. That's existential. A world war is existential in the sense that, you saw both in the First and the Second World War where groups of states bonded together in order to destroy or overtake entire parts of Europe, North Africa, Middle East. That's not this.
The fear of ISIS, though, is real, right? And if it is real, then terrorism is working here on American shores.
Absolutely. When we look at statistics, for example, 32,675 people dying in a highway accident in 2014, 33,500 people because of firearms, 17 people in 2014 were killed by terrorism. I think the fact is that it's become very much politicized. And so it becomes part of the rhetoric, both of the GOP, but also the Democratic Party, and people are focused in on it. And if the media is constantly saying terrorism, 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 that's one of the problems. They don't put it in context. They don't put it, within the realm of likelihood in which you have a better chance of being struck by lightning than being killed by a terrorist.
Mia, is there any other consideration to the ISIS threat that you didn't really hear taken on directly by either the president or Nikki Haley last night?
No, I think Governor Haley was correct in one thing when she said, and I'm quoting, during these anxious times, it's tempting to follow the siren's call of the angriest voices, and we must resist that temptation. I think this is an indication that there are elements within the GOP that understand that the vast majority of American Muslims left countries to come to America for a reason and are extremely loyal Americans. The problem that we have to understand is that by using this kind of xenophobic rhetoric, that we actually might inadvertently be radicalizing the next generation of American Muslims. We have to understand that the American Muslim community is our greatest asset in fighting radicalization and is a bulwark against ISIS recruitment. We cannot do ISIS's work for them by handing them on a platter an element of the American people who we have alienated and segregated. So this is where I think in this one instance, both the GOP and the president are speaking with one voice, and I think that that's a good voice to speak with.
Mia Bloom, Professor of Communications at Georgia State University. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marco, for having me.
The United States isn't the only place debating the current terrorist threat. Europe, too, is on edge. Some worry that terrorists may be among the thousands of migrants still making their way into Europe. Our next story takes us into the lives of some of them along the Serbian-Croatian border.